This is Assetto Corsa. I'm Mooney GT, and today things are gonna get real. Welcome to Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. It was, almost 8 years ago that I was able to drive my own Miata here. I drove down to Austin and did just a one-day track day with the group I used to run with. We got 4 sessions. Each session was about 20 minutes. And unfortunately for most of it, as I mentioned earlier in the video, it was raining all day before the event and most of the day at the event. But finally, in the last session of the day, the rain broke a little bit and we started to get a dry line. And you'll see in the video that it is wet offline, but there was a dry line starting to form, and I started to get a little bit more confidence driving the car around the track. Part of my hesitation was that in order for us to come drive Circuit of the Americas, we had to sign all of these waivers and forms and things promising that we would pay for any damage we caused while driving, which makes sense, and that's all well and good. But they specifically stated that if you damage the racing surface, so if you hurt the track itself somehow, it was $500 per linear foot of damage you caused to the track. If you hit one of the barriers, I think it was $1,000 per linear foot. And if you hit one of the air fences, which I think is like some kind of almost airbag impact thing that they have at some of the runoff zones, they said it was $1,500 per linear foot. So that was really scary. You can imagine that even in like this tiny little Miata, if I'm going down this back straightaway here and my exhaust breaks or something falls off the car, something, weird things happen, you never know. So if I'm dragging my exhaust down this back straight for a bit, $500 per linear foot of damage to the track is going to be ginormous. So that was actually pretty scary. And then in the rain, if you damage these fences that we're driving by now, $1,000 per foot or something like that. Incredible. So that was pretty terrifying. I think maybe those are the air fences or air barriers you're talking about. I don't really know. But I had zero intention of being the guy who was going to go off track and have an incident at Circuit of the Americas, especially with those massive penalties in place. So I was driving somewhat conservative, especially when the track was fully wet. But by the end of the session, by the end of the day, I had started to find a little bit of pace. And I think if I could go back in the dry, I certainly would have had more time in it. I could have gone faster, but that wasn't the situation I was presented with. It was still an amazing experience, and it was the smoothest track I've ever been on. It was brand new at the time. You have to remember that it was, I think, November of 2012 was when they had the first F1 race, and I actually got to go to that with my father-in-law and my son, who was only 4 years old at the time, which is a pretty awesome experience to get to share that with them. But yeah, driving this track, it was so smooth. And I've been super lucky to have been able to drive at Laguna Seca and Road Atlanta as well. And Circuit of the Americas was on a whole nother level of just pristine track surface. And if you know anything about Circuit of the America, you'll know that I think there have been complaints since then about bumps in the track, because I think over time from people racing on it and just the climate effects to the track, they did start to get some ripples and bumps, especially I think on the back straight. But I think they've since gone back and tried to fix those. But at the time when I came here, we were the second group of amateurs to ever drive Circuit of the Americas, which is really cool. And actually, after they had the first F1 race, the people who ran the track at the time initially said that anyone who wanted to come drive Circuit of the Americas and had the money to rent the track could do it. And so I think several organizations, including the one that I run with, sent in some paperwork, to reserve a day to be able to do that. And then the people got nervous, the people running the track got nervous and decided they didn't want amateurs coming to race it because they were afraid that that they would damage the track, and they didn't want that to happen. So then they said, well, we've changed our minds and no one can come. Well, the funny thing was, the sim racing community, the real racing community got really upset. Like across the country, people were upset. There was a lot of backlash against the operators of the track And eventually they caved and they said, all right, well, we had like 3 organizations who had submitted their paperwork and had given us their deposit for the event. Well, we're going to honor the people who put the deposit down, but no one else can come drive here yet. And luckily, my organization had actually put their deposit down, and we were able to come drive this track. And again, I think we were the 2nd ever amateurs to get to do it. So it was pretty special. It was a brand new track at the time. But I digress. What we're here for today is to run some hot laps. So what I'm going to do is I've kind of gotten the car warmed up. I'm starting to get myself warmed up. I'm going to do my best to set my best lap in this car and see if I can touch the lap that I did in real life. Well, you know what? I'm not going to tell you what the real life lap time is. I'm just going to give myself, let's give myself 3 more laps from where I am right now, and I'll take my best lap and see if I can beat my real life lap in my car. So let's get to it.
Okay, well, there you have it. Just a couple tenths quicker in Assetto Corsa compared to my real-life lap time. I was actually kind of surprised and pleased that the lap times are so close. I didn't know what to expect when I started doing this, but it was cool to see that the sim was pretty close to the lap time of my real-life car. Now, I know there's lots of differences, and I actually had some suspension mods on my car And you can see in the video there's an AFR meter, and that's because I do have a custom ECU that what it mostly did was liven up the mid-range in the car. It did add a little bit of top-end power, but not a whole lot. It's just a naturally aspirated, 4-cylinder. But anyways, I'm Mooney GT. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.